It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome to the Fantasy Fork. Wow, tongue tripped up there. Welcome to the Fantasy Forecast with Grindberg and bigz right here on the Fantasy Sports Advice Network. He is Grindberg, I am bigz, and when we're looking back on the 2024 class, there were some very, very nice situations that were created at the draft. Kind of some of them are matchup or landing spot proof, like Malik Neighbors. Didn't matter who his quarterback was, he was phenomenal. Brock Bowers, similar situation. With the running backs, it was kind of fortunate for some of them to fall to specific teams, like Bucky Irving had a perfect landing spot. A team that was increasing its running back efficiency with their offensive line, building that offensive line, and Bucky Irving fell right into it. So we're going to talk today about some situations like that for the 2025 draft. Now, obviously, we still have another, 8 days before we know where these players are going to be going. And I will be reporting for Fantasy Sports Advice Network live from the draft in Green Bay on Thursday. The 24th. So we'll talk more about it then, but let's talk about some hopes, some dreams. Where do we think would be the perfect situations for some guys to fall? I think we should do that today.
Yeah, let's do it, bigz.
Okay.
Things are starting to get pretty spicy now. We're hearing a lot of names getting floated around, some people getting some special invites to something called the Green Room, and I'm excited to talk about some of these players. And our first two players on our docket both got that coveted Green Room invite. And it's interesting to see because they're both quarterbacks, and with such a weak presented class from what we're hearing, seeing a fourth quarterback enter that conversation is going to be interesting to talk about right now. So bigz, why don't you talk about your guy and where you want to see him land and why you think that's a great landing spot?
I don't want to see him land there. I'd rather hoard him to myself. But Jaxson Dart to the New Orleans Saints, I think, would be a boon for both Jaxson Dart and the New Orleans Saints. Now, the New Orleans Saints are in a bind right now. They have Derek Carr, who has a mysterious shoulder injury. Some people are saying that it's him just wanting to get out of New Orleans. Some people are saying it's a legitimate injury. Right now, we aren't 100% certain of either, but we do know that the backups behind Derek Carr at this point include Spencer Rattler as the next man up, and that's just not going to do it. So if the Saints somehow have Derek Carr move on to a different organization, or if he's legitimately out with that injury, they can bring in a rookie quarterback who can start right away and will not cost them a whole lot of money, which they don't have because they are cap poor. And that's Jaxson Dart. And Jaxson Dart is my QB1 in the class. I have maintained that for months, and I will not move off of that. Explainers are in previous episodes, stuff like that. He is the most NFL ready, although he's not likely to be the first quarterback taken. He's likely to be the third. So with Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders gone already, when the Saints pick at 9, they will probably have the opportunity to grab Jaxson Dart. He will immediately step in with one of the top 12 wide receivers in all of fantasy football in Chris Olave, and an offense in place that started off last year gangbusters until they all started falling out with injuries. The team is ready to give it another start, and Jaxson Dart, if he is their starting quarterback, will have a huge year if he starts week 1.
Yeah, it's an interesting shakeout. And yeah, with the Derek Carr news coming in and they have that number 9 pick, that is a reality at this stage. And depending on where Shedeur Sanders is landing, there's rumors now that he could be floating outside of the first round. I'm not sure it's going to happen, but interesting take on that. And I like where your head's at there with Jaxson Dart going there. That's a great landing spot for him. And that would definitely be money in the bank for fantasy managers. And a guy that I got pegged as a guy that I'd like to see land in a certain spot. And now with that green room invite, Jalen Milroe going to the Steelers, it might become a reality here. The Alabama signal caller, he was ranked outside of the top 75 on most big boards, but this invitation to attend the draft, it suggests that these NFL teams are seeing something beyond just the stat sheet. He's got some raw electric upside. If you look at his, last 2 years, he's got over 700 rushing yards both seasons, over 14 touchdowns on the ground in 2023, and then in 2024, 20 touchdowns on the ground, 6'2", 217 pounds. His decision-making may be come in question at times, and he, can throw the odd interception. So his mobility is there. But we see this a lot with these quarterbacks. They got some upside, and if a guy like Milroe with his skill set hits, he could be a fantasy darling. 10.1 yards per pass attempt, which isn't bad at all. He had 30 plus touchdowns last year as a dual threat opportunist. So and 65% completion percentage, which is far better than, some of the guys that he's being compared to, like the Anthony Richardsons of the world here. So things could look up for Jalen Milroe. I'm having him as my 3B quarterback in this. I'm still trying to figure out where I have Shedeur. I might even have him ahead of Shedeur at this stage, and he could be my quarterback 3. So I like where Jalen Milroe's at, and maybe with a good landing spot like the Steelers, I could really make him fantasy relevant, bigz.
I have him above Shedeur. Simply put, he was recruited to go to Alabama. Shedeur started his career in college as in an FCS school with his dad as the head coach and recruiter. So it wasn't an outside perspective that brought Shedeur to the team that he was on. And then he transferred to Colorado again with his dad. Jalen Milroe was recruited by Alabama and was a starter there. Alabama is a top 5 school perennially. Even if they don't land there in the rankings, they're going to be a top 5 recruiter. They're going to be likely a top 5 finisher in the playoff hunt, etc. And you have to have talent to be recruited into a system like that. Now, we have seen guys win national championships at Alabama and then not stick in the NFL. So it's not that he's guaranteed or destined to be a top flight quarterback just because he was recruited to Alabama, but he does have a lot of athleticism. He does have a very fantasy friendly skill set. And if he is in a situation where he's able to start week 1, he's an absolute smash. We look at Bo Nix last year. Bo Nix finished as a top 10 quarterback, and that wasn't even with a whole ton of rushing upside. He has a little, and in the past I've likened him to Derek Carr that ran, or Derek Carr if Derek Carr ran. But Milroe kind of fits the pattern of Anthony Richardson, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, and Justin Fields to a certain extent, heavily focused on the run game with some work to do in the passing game. And we've seen that work. You can throw Lamar Jackson in there too, although that was more narrative than skill set. But you see that, some of these quarterbacks can have an immediate impact in fantasy, even if it takes them 3, 4, 5 years to start having an impact for their real life teams. And Jalen Milroe is a perfect example of that. And that green room invitation, that is huge. I mean, us in the analysis game, we've had Milroe outside of the first round, but non-first rounders typically don't get invited to the green room. So it's either he's being looked at by the NFL as a first round talent, or the conspiracies would say that it's just them trying to get ratings by having somebody there who's going to watch their draft stock fall, because we all saw when it happened to Aaron Rodgers that it made for great television.
And Will Levis.
Yeah. Levis too. Can of tuna. All right. Love the pick. You know, I know where we are, and I know where they are. But where would one want to go if one wanted to be where we are here?
We are here. We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to FantasySportsAdvice.com today.
All right, let's get into the wide receivers, shall we?
Let's do it, Biggs.
So my perfect landing spot wide receiver is going to be Emeka Egbuka to Washington. We look at Washington and their rise as a playoff team in 2024. Jayden Daniels is a quarterback on the rise. They have offloaded De'Ami Brown and other wide receivers out of that wide receiver room. They brought in Deebo Samuel, and they still have Terry McLaurin, and they have a good situation at tight end. What better spot for a young wide receiver who has a broad skill set, can do just about everything required of him on the field? They already have the X type in Terry McLaurin, who can get himself down the field. They've already got Ben Sinnott and Zach Ertz working underneath. Deebo Samuel plays that Joker mode. And then Emeka Egbuka can line up at the X, at the Y, at the Z. He can even be a flanker and come out of motion. They can move him around the field. He has separation skills. He has speed. He has athleticism. He's good against man coverage. He's good against zone coverage. And he's got a pretty wide route tree. He's not one of these slot receivers who's going to play a lot of slot. He's not one of these X receivers that can only do your deep routes and your crossers and stuff like that. He is able to do everything on the field, similar to his former teammate, Jaxson Smith-Njigba. So when I was looking at where landing spots would be, I was kind of thinking, where would it be pretty cool for JSN to land? And Washington needs that complementary route wide receiver that can play the slot in 3 wide receiver sets, can play on the Y or the Z in multi-receiver sets. And Emeka Egbuka would be perfect for that. It would be great for Jayden Daniels, all these Jalen's. It would be great for Jayden Daniels, and it would be great for Terry McLaurin. Not so much for Deebo, but it would be a phenomenal spot for him to land.
I love that landing spot. I love Egbuka. I think you hit it nailed on there with the way they would use him. And he's a little bit more physical than meets the eye too. Like he gets some yak as well. So I like where your head's at there. Kind of like fitting a younger Deebo, but not quite the frame, but similar usage there. I like where your head's at there, Biggs. My guy here, and we're both pretty high on a Jayden, if you will. So this is Jayden Higgins. And I think an ideal fit for me, for him would be with the Carolina Panthers. And a lot of people were, throwing Ted McMillan's name as a good landing spot for the Carolina Panthers. But I just like Jayden Higgins better in that type of frame. 6'4", 217 pounds. We know he's from Iowa State. Those 2 wide receivers from that school really are a good combination. But Higgins, he brings that combination of physical tools, and he's got that technical polish that I really like. Great separating skills, 87 receptions, 1,200 yards, 9 touchdowns. He's got the ability to, handle a heavy workload as well. He can deliver under pressure. And the Panthers, they need a dynamic wide receiver to elevate their offense. And it's coming on, Bryce Young needs that reliable target that he can grow with. I like Jalen Coker there next year, but I think they need a bigger bodied receiver that can get downfield and make some contested catches as well. And Jayden Higgins is that guy. He's got a win rate of over 65% that shows his dominance against tight coverages as well. He's just a incredible talent that I'm hoping to see in an area where he can gain targets right away and really be that true alpha wide receiver that I think he can be there, Biggs. What are your thoughts on Jayden Higgins in Carolina?
I mean, what is there for me to say that I haven't already been saying about Jayden Higgins since late February, I almost said late February, early January, late January, early February. The only reason that I have not placed Jayden Higgins as my wide receiver one is because of Trey Harris's analytics and the fact that Ted McMillan is probably going to get the draft capital. And as we know, draft capital is going to mean just about more than anything else in this rookie wide receiver class. So he's not necessarily my first ranked wide receiver, but he is absolutely my favorite wide receiver in this draft. And I hate the landing spot in Carolina because he's a Raider. He's going to be in silver and black. He's going to be available in the second round. And if Trey Harris hasn't been taken, they're probably going to take Trey Harris. But more likely scenario I see is Higgins being available at 37. The Raiders have a need, and he is that type of first round talent to slip out of the first round just because of the numbers game. So yeah, Carolina can't have him. We're getting them.
All right, I like that, bigz. Now, before we get into our spotlights, folks, we got two bangers of a spotlight here, two running backs that, if they get the right landing spot, are really going to be fantasy gold. But before we get into that, we talk a lot about rookies here on this show today. Let's get into the rookie guide that's going to be popping out roughly about 5 days after the draft. After we get the landing spot solidified, the rookie outlooks will be a masterpiece in the works here. We got a lot of guys working really hard behind the scenes getting this rookie guide out. Bigz, you got anything else to add to that?
Get it. Go to fantasysportsadvicenetwork.com and sign up, get your membership, blah, 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 all that stuff if you haven't already, and prepare yourself. Prepare yourself, because this rookie guide is going to be an absolute banger. Sharp guys putting in a ton of work and getting this done so that you can just kind of flip through it and absolutely demolish your dynasty and redraft drafts.
I love it. Yeah. And it looks really, really, really sharp. So I can't wait for everybody to see the hard work go by. Now, Bigz, let's get into your spotlight running back.
Every time I hear that, I think AC/DC. My spotlight running back is North Carolina running back Omarion Hampton falling to Pittsburgh. I think that is an absolute gold landing spot for him. And the reason is because I feel like he could win the job over Jalen Warren and be the bell cow in Pittsburgh. Now, Pittsburgh has always been running back heavy to the tune of the last few years having Najee Harris and Jalen Warren splitting things up. The thing about Omarion Hampton is that everything that Najee can do and everything that Jalen Warren can do, Omarion Hampton can do. You don't need to have a stable of a backfield. You just need Omarion Hampton. So Pittsburgh wants to be, Mike Tomlin wants to be a run-first team. He wants to hammer the inside and break down the defense over the course of the first 45 minutes of the game, and then have, light boxes and broken down defense in the fourth quarter. Hampton is that guy. He can bruise, he can catch passes, he's elusive, he's fast. Him in Pittsburgh would be awfully, awfully deadly, especially considering the fact that at this point, we don't know A, who's throwing the ball, or B, who he's throwing the ball to. We know it's going to be Pickens and Metcalf, but they are the same thing. So some things could be happening over the course of the next, week, 10 days, as far as the draft and the Steelers and the resolution of what they're doing with their wide receivers. And all of that could benefit whichever running back they take. And if they invest the capital and take one guy that can do everything, it's going to be Omarion Hampton, and your Jalen Warren shares are going to be diminished in value.
Absolutely. And it seems like there's a handful of teams that are really, really aggressively looking at the running back position. The Steelers being one of them. So Jalen Warren, his job might be definitely in jeopardy in another backfield that is wide open right now that I'm looking at maybe targeting whoever lands there, and a guy that I would love to see land in this backfield. And that's a Denver Broncos backfield. And I would love to see my guy, TreVeyon Henderson, land there. I think that the Broncos are signaling their clear intention headed into the draft that they are targeting a running back, and not just any back, one that can instantly elevate their offense. So enter the picture here, TreVeyon Henderson, the electric running back from Ohio State. He's climbing up draft boards, and it's like, guys like Bucky Brooks and Daniel Jeremiah have him now pegged into the first round in some of their mocks. And for a team looking to support Bo Nix, he's got the explosiveness, the versatility to make him the perfect fit to take some pressure off the passing game and open up Sean Payton's playbook. He's got that all-around skill set that is like the modern-day fantasy monster, and there's no better landing spot than Denver's backfield where he could become the next Alvin Kamara. We know that Sean Payton has a history of unleashing dual-threat running backs, and Henderson checks all those boxes: that home run speed, soft hands, elite vision, great pass protection, and he doesn't fumble the ball. Only one fumble throughout his whole career in college. So I think he checks all the boxes, and Henderson in that Joker role for Sean Payton, the same one that turned Alvin Kamara into that fantasy superstar. It's making me salivate right now, and I'd love to see TreVeyon Henderson there, and hoping to see it there, bud.
Pick up your chin, Mike. I feel like this episode was your way of hurting me. You're sending my wide receiver to not the Raiders. You're giving my division rival a generational talent. Like, why are you trying to hurt me?
I'm trying to hurt you, man. I'm sorry. I didn't mean, I wasn't doing that intentionally. You were trying to avoid the Raiders, and I was too. So I didn't talk about them. I was inadvertently just jabbing them, I guess. I'm sorry, Bal.
Everybody out there, I want to invite you to the Scott Fish Bowl. Go to scottfishbowl.com and put register. I think that's the thing, register. So you're going to give an email address. It's going to give you a code number that's five digits long. When it does that, go back and go to the login section and log in with that email address and that 5-digit number. After you do that, it's going to ask you down at the bottom if you want to participate in a live draft. Scott Fishbowl live drafts are the best thing in fantasy football. So go do that. Find the one in your area. There is one in Northern California, and it's listed as NorCal. It's not San Francisco or Sacramento or any other city. It just says NorCal. Currently, we are getting close to 4 divisions out of Sacramento. We've had 2 in San Francisco the last 2 years. So the increase is fantastic. Come along and draft with us. The draft for the NorCal is in Sacramento on June 21st. Indicate that that's your interest, and I'll vet you and see if you're going to get a spot. It's going to be great. So go do that. And if you don't want to draft live, don't draft live. Do this the all slow draft on Sleeper. And if you're not going to be in California, if you're going to be somewhere else, you can go to Vegas. You can go to Hawaii. You can pick somewhere. Make it a vacation. Take your significant other. Make it a vacation. Take your kids if you have them. Take your dog. You can't take your dog to Hawaii. But you can travel all over the place and get involved in the Scott Fish Bowl fantasy community because it's amazing.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, that wraps up our pre-draft shows here, bigz. So probably the next time we run a show, it'll be post-draft, and we'll have some landing spots for some of these rookies to talk about. And that's when the offseason really kicks in for us, because redraft season is coming around, and that's where we specialize here, and we'll get deep into that. So bigz, from all of us on Fantasy Sports Advice Network, do what you do so great.
Well, I do want to say I'm very, very sad, because the next time I'm going to be right here on these airwaves, I'm going to be in Green Bay, Wisconsin at the draft, along with Chase at the FSAN house. There are a couple other correspondents who are going to be there with me. I think there's 4 of us. And I'm very, very angry at the universe and sad that you were not able to get down there. Because I think that doing this show from the draft with the 2 of us would have been epic, and I wish it could have happened. Next year, it's going to happen. But until then, we hope you win.
We hope you win, folks. Have a good one. Peace out.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.